You got the left out there wanting to expand the IRS. Boy, was Biden happy that he could hire 80,000 new IRS agents. Well, we've learned today that Donald Trump is firing them. Yep, they're going to be laying off a whole bunch of these IRS agents. The word is that properties are going on the market left and right in D.C. right now. The word is that the most Googled term in D.C. right now is lawyer. They all need lawyers. Well, anyway, the IRS is going to be laying off thousands right in the middle of tax season. Remember what Elon did to Twitter when he took it over and it became X? I believe he got rid of something like 80,000, 80% of their employees. So he's really quite capable of doing more with less. And this freaks everyone out. But meanwhile, Donald Trump is creating an ERS, right? So the IRS is the Internal Revenue Service. He wants an ERS, External Revenue Service, so that we can actually, with those tariffs, put more money back into the government. Here's Stephen Miller talking about the issue today.
So, Stephen, so just when it comes to, maybe we're getting a little too in the weeds here, but I think you have to. When you look at the Integrated Data Retrieval System, the IDRS, I guess this is where some red flags are going up about access to that personal information. This would give the tax agency employees access to IRS accounts, and certainly you can correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't they then have access to personal identification numbers and bank information?
No. What we're talking about is at the programmatic level, being able to analyze and assess for signs and symptoms of fraud that would involve established criminal organizations and established fraud rings, and looking at how IT systems are failing to detect and interdict this fraud. Again, if you were to just eliminate fraud alone in our tax and entitlement systems, you're talking about trillions of dollars in long-term savings. We need to protect the integrity of these systems that Americans rely on. Right now, the federal government doesn't even catch a tiny fraction of the criminal fraud that takes place, that is ripping off and abusing American taxpayers. And the notion that we would trust the same bureaucracy that has overseen this endemic fraud, waste, corruption, and abuse for decades without installing basic political controls on that system, basic accountability on that system. Again, when we talk about DOGE, who are we talking about? We are talking about staff that serves the President of the United States, that is appointed by the President, that reports to the White House, that is part of the formal infrastructure of the federal government. That is the highest level of accountability that you can possibly have, as opposed to some career civil servant who is, up until now, been completely immune from any form of accountability. I mean, you remember when President Trump's private tax information was leaked and weaponized. Politicization at the IRS has been a huge problem. Do you remember that scandal going back? Lewis Lerner at the IRS and weaponizing the tax system against small conservative nonprofits? I give you my word, John. The only thing that is happening here is restoring neutrality, ethics, accountability to the IRS to make sure at the payment level, at the systems level, that we can identify signs and warning symptoms that large-scale fraud is taking place, that unfair politicization is taking place, that unfair targeting is taking place, and that we have faith and confidence in the IRS and that no dollars are being stolen from the American people.
Wow. I remember that. Do you guys remember that, Lois Lerner? Targeting conservative Tea Party groups? That was Obama's IRS. Again, it's a weaponization. Steve Frischman, good to have you here. Thank you so much for all your generosity. Please remember, guys, subscribe, share, like. That was Lois Lerner. That was Obama's IRS. And if you have an IRS that is weaponized like that, then you have a lot of problems. I mean, you are basically full-on banana republic. And we've seen this in more ways than one, right? And so they're trying to change that. And DOGE is working actively to create some accountability. Think about in the public markets, right? In the public markets, if you are a company, you have a board of directors, you have a CEO. What is their responsibility? They have a fiduciary responsibility to maximize shareholder value. What is the responsibility of our government? They don't have any responsibility. Their only responsibility is to themselves to get elected again and again and again and again. And so they got giveaways to maybe certain people and certain lobbying groups, etc. That's all for them. The selfishness of the process is really pretty intense and gross. I don't know exactly how you fix it, but you don't want to turn the government into some kind of publicly run company, but at least publicly run companies, there's some accountability there, and shareholders will just trade you down. Right? Your stock is going to be like Disney, right? It's get cut in half because you start doing all this DEI nonsense and people figure it out. But where is the accountability for Letitia James? Where's the accountability for Fannie Willis? And how do we actually fix this? I will say that DOGE is onto something, and they've created all kinds of different chapters. This is amazing. Our crypto czar, David Sachs, tweeting this out, saying basically there's like a DOGE everything, okay? They've got a DOGE arm to create all these reporting vehicles for all of these different aspects of government, and they're not going to be stopped. The judge just said A-OK.
He's tasked with the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, Elon Musk. A federal judge has just declined to issue an order halting Elon Musk and DOGE from accessing federal data and slashing personnel. Attorneys general from 14 states are attempting to stop Musk and DOGE from accessing data in 7 federal agencies and from firing or putting on leave employees in those agencies. U.S. District Court Judge Chutkan just refused to issue a ruling from the bench. So at that point, she has not halted Musk and DOGE from continuing their actions inside the 7 agencies at issue here. Just real quickly, because of your legal background.
Yeah. Boom. Okay. So it's moving forward. It's happening. And they really can't do much about this. And this is fantastic because I'll tell you, we're losing money hand over fist. And you can't continue as a society to keep losing money. I mean, you know what happened to Rome, right? That was in large part economic. The fall of Rome, you can actually trace back to all these people living off of dole, all these wars that they couldn't actually afford, the expansionary efforts, and just bad governance. Like, we don't want to be Rome. We really, and it's like Elon's coming around at the right time, at the right moment. And the American people are with Trump. The American people want change. And hey, I mean, little stuff. Like, you got to show up to work if you're a federal worker.